Yeah.
What was that? Is yeah. Are we gonna continue after that or?
We will stop for now, but it's almost gonna be 8 already, right? 8 o'clock, is it? Is it 8 or 8:30?
Sometimes, it's a bit early, sometimes a bit late. I was wondering, like, what's gonna happen.
Okay, I recorded.
You record it also always. Okay.
I recorded it on my device in my apartment.
Okay.
So in case I'm late, I will just hear the recording.
You play on the radio?
I recorded on my phone.
That's so smart. Yeah. That's so smart. The most amazing lessons. They don't even need the internet. You just have the radio on.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وإن تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير ونفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. We're actually continuing from yesterday. We began with the Isra and Mi'raj, right? Because from Hababa's classes that I went for yesterday, so I was late. I was at Hababa Mariam's classes, and she went into the story of Isra and Mi'raj. And basically, it's the way of the righteous that whenever the days of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala come around, that you pause whatever you are studying and you commemorate the days of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and this is something that is from the hadith of Rasulullah Alaihi Wasallam. Therefore, surely in the days of your Lord, for surely Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has placed in the days and the times, right, and in your times, the fahat, basically breezes, right, and the Prophet said, won't you expose yourself to these breezes? In the longer hadith, he said, and it could be that one of these breezes or one of these breaths, right, come to you, right, and it brings you into sa'ada, it brings you into a bliss, right, that la yashqi abada, right, you will never be distressed ever again. Was that? Yeah, sure. So, and you will never be distressed ever again. There is the nafahat, and nafahat meaning the breezes, right? And so one of the ways in which we expose ourselves to the breezes of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, basically these breezes, they are inspirations, right? From Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. They are, you say, tawfiq from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. They are shu'ur, right? There's feelings, sensations, right, that come into your heart from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? And there are things that you cannot describe, right, in the spiritual realm, and there are gifts that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives His servants. So it could be, one in the particular 2 rak'ats that all of a sudden you feel it, come into your heart, or it could be that you come to a class and suddenly your whole life has changed, from something that you heard in that class, or it could be that you even did some khidmah, you did some service, or you cook something or whatsoever, and then something happens to you and it flips your entire life over. It changes you. It could be a nadra, it could be a gaze from one of the people of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, from one of the awliya, onto you, and then it transforms your entire life. It's called the nafahat. They are basically life changing. They are life changing. They do things to you, they transform you. MashaAllah. And that the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whereby he said that won't you expose yourselves to them? Won't you bring your heart and expose yourselves to these breezes, because Allah's giving His gifts and His gifts and His gifts. It makes your hair stand when you think about it, because it's really Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is showering His gifts onto us. And yesterday we ended our sharing with Isra and Mi'raj about the that was Hababa Aishun. Sorry, I'm mixing Hababa Aishun. Hababa Aishun's class, the one about the Matar Ar-Rahmaniyah, about the rain of mercy, that was shared during Hababa Aishun's class on Tuesday. We did a very quick translation after that, right? If you all were here, right? We tried to get it in, right? But there was something that she mentioned about the matar, right? Rahmani is a merciful rain from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That in the rain of this dunya, of this world, right? It can be a little, it can be a drizzle, it can be a thunderstorm, it can be a lot, right? But the rain of mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is always in abundance, always. It is never little. It is always in abundance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how about I should give the example of the heart being basically awani. It is basically containers. Right? And so some hearts, there are 3 types of containers. So the first type is a clean container, and it's placed under the rain, right? And it takes as much as from the rain as possible, right? And it's all clean, Safi, the water is clean, and so much so it can even flood to what is around it. And these are the hearts that are pure and sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They benefit themselves and they benefit those who are around them. It floods onto those who are around them. You know, mashallah, something that Zainab al-Khatib, right, said to me when I was in Singapore. She came to Singapore once, you know, and she said to me, you know, and Zainab al-Khatib, mashallah, you know, mashallah, I can go on about her, mashallah, Zainab, right, but really, you know, she takes ibrah, right, she takes, you know, lessons from everything around her, literally everything. There are lessons from everything, you know, and I was so amazed, right, by what she was sharing was, in Singapore, I would just hang out with her and I go, you take a walk by the beach, and because she lives in an apartment next to the beach in Singapore, so I'll bring her to the beach, and I'll walk with her by the beach, and she take ibrah, you know, like lessons. In Malaysia, I'll bring her to the waterfalls in Malaysia, and she take lessons from the waterfalls in Malaysia. I brought her to an Omnimax theater. What they bring to an Omnimax theater, right? Whereby there's documentary on the auroras. It was the Northern Lights, you know, and she took an ibrah. She took a lesson from it. You know, like everything in her life, right? And she would say to me, like, you know, Farhana, you keep, you know, iqra, right? Read the kaun, right? Read read this world that's around you. Read it. Right? The Habib Umar this morning, he mentioned about the zilzal, right? about the earthquake. But how many hearts are having earthquakes in them? Right, the earthquake of the hearts, losing their aqidah, losing their religion, losing this morning his kalima, the Habib Umar, you know, they take ibrah, right? They take lessons, ibrah meaning lessons, they take lessons from things around them. You know, and you have Zainab, I was with her, and she said that, you know, and I said to her, you know, how do we teach people? How do we influence them? How do we, pull them, you know, on this path? And she said that, you know, it's something natural. It's something very natural, right? Because, you know, you see, your heart is like a cup, right? If you want to affect someone around you, you have to be filled up, right? So if you want people to love the Prophet ﷺ, you have to fill up with love for the Prophet ﷺ and overflow. So wherever you go, you overflow the love of the Prophet ﷺ. You want to have the love of the Quran, you must fill up with the love of the Quran. Right? If you are empty of the love of the Quran, you can't affect anybody at all, because you are empty. You can't give the faqir shit that you are, the one who doesn't have something can give it. So you gotta fill it up. Right? You gotta have your heart be full of love for the Quran, and then you will spill over and you will overflow onto all around you. And wherever you go, no matter what, whether you want to or not, they will love the Quran, because you're overflowing everywhere. Right? And you see Zainab, and in fact most of the teachers here, they're overflowers. Wherever they go, they're spilling out, because they're so full. They're like a continuous spring, right, going on. It's always overflowing, you know, mashallah. But going back to the example that Sister Hababa Aishun gave, right, about the awani, and the first one is a pure container, whereby the rain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rain of mercy, fills it up and overflows onto all those around it. So even the disbeliever benefits, even the disobedient benefits, even the child benefits, even the elderly benefits. Everybody benefits from this pure heart, right, that has exposed itself to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second container, right, is the dirty heart, right, a dirty heart. So like a cup that's dirty, right? So it is placed there, right, and the rain comes, right, and it fills it up, right, but the water's not good to be drunk. Right, but there could be some benefits. Maybe it's clean the cup a little bit, you know, as the water fills it up. The third cup is dirty and it's other way, right? It's on its face. Right? So this cup, no matter what, you can have the rain of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on it, more and more and more and more and more, it is not affected. It's closed, it's sealed. Right? That is the worst heart, and there's the heart of the arrogant, right? The heart of those with ujub, right? Self-conceited and so on. Right? So that the kind of heart coming to a majlis, right? Nothing, no benefit for the self and no benefit for those around them. This is the second one, something. There's some water that you gain, maybe in cleansing it. But the first one, it is the best. Right? So anyway, I should begin that way because to speak about the importance of speaking about the events, right? As you come, as Habib Al-Qur'ani is one of the ones who really champions this. He will really push it forward, right? One of the most important things in our religion is that when there are important events, you must stop what you're doing and focus on these important events. Don't let them go by you. And in fact, in his writings, every single month he will write the number of just not just the popular ones, but things you don't even know about, like marriages to the wife of Rasulullah. He wrote the deaths of some of the companions and the wife of Rasulullah, and so on. Important events. He has a book on it, right? On the basically on the events that happens every single month in the history of Islam, and he pointed us to the importance of doing this, of highlighting this to the Muslims, to our children, and it's a way of tarif. It's a way of tarif. Whenever important events come, no matter what, they will either stop the class and have the entire class full of this event, or they will insert things into it. The first of Rajab, we saw it. First of Rajab came in, straight away everything is converted into talking about Rajab, right? And then you go through Rajab, and then they speak about the first night of Rajab, and they speak about, and so on to raise you in your awareness. And then now Isra and Mi'raj is coming in, and Habib Maryam said that the sweetness of the kalam, or the sweetness of the sharing on Isra and Mi'raj comes before the Isra and Mi'raj. Right, so you don't wait until Isra and Mi'raj itself, then you begin to speak about it. No, you begin speaking about it before that, and that is what is meant by you are exposing your heart to the breaths, to the breezes, because you're preparing your heart. So you don't want to come, on Friday, Saturday, and like, what was going on, what? And you're like, huh? And then you have the book, what's going on. You come for the reading, you don't know what's going on. Or you come late, you know what's going on. Like you get benefit, yes, but you're kind of, blur, you don't know what's going on. Then before you know it, it goes past you, right? And then you're like, what happened? And then it will tell you all about it, and you're like, what? When was that? Mashallah, because you were not ready. Mashallah, this morning, the Maulid, I happened this morning, Maulid Shaful Anam, right? So, it's on the radio, so things like that. It's the Maulid is on the radio. For the women, we don't go anywhere. We just sit at home, right? They will have a Maulid again, I think, because this morning was at Jami', right? They will have it at Masjid Mihadar Saturday. It should be Saturday morning, on the Isra and Mi'raj morning itself. My husband gave me the entire basically the list of events that's going to happen, because Darul Musawa gave to them to show when classes are cancelled. Right, so this morning he had no class because of the Maulid, and then now so tomorrow there is something going on as well at Asar time. I know she sent me the entire list of things going on. Sometimes you're like, what's going on? And then he mentioned that Hadra Badriya is happening also, but they put Masa Yamul Khamis. So I don't know whether it's Masa Yamul Khamis or Sabah Yamul Jum'ah, because Hadra Badriya is 2 a.m., right? But in the Darul Musa message they put Masa Yamul Khamis. So I don't know if they are replacing the Maulid on Thursday with Hadra Badriya. I don't know, no, right?
Masa Khamis is still the night, yeah.
It's still 2 a.m. in the morning. It's considered as...
Yeah, but it's still the night. The Fajr is not there.
They won't call it Laylatul Jum'ah. It's Laylatul Jum'ah, right? It's called Laylatul Jum'ah.
أيوة بس ما زال ممكن تسقيها عليه ما بتقول أيوة
مساء maybe عصر
ممكن الذي كتب ما ولكن هي ليس خطأ ليس خطأ.
Wondering whether the ما شاء الله. I was looking at it.
الفجر بيكون بعد طلوع الفجر صح؟
ليلة الجمعة من المغرب.
ليلة الجمعة أيوة ليلة الجمعة صح. هذا أفضل شيء.
السهلة؟
هذا هو
نعم.
يعني فصاحة.
So,
ولكن مساء الخميس أيضا تمشي يعني.
yes, I saw the message. So I was wondering when is the Zahara Badriya? Because usually it's Sabah, right? It's Sabah Yawm Jum'ah, or they say 2 a.m. or something. It's usually 2 a.m. So I think it's probably 2 a.m. I don't think they change it. Right. So, but anyway, I saw the messages, you know. So which reminds me, because it's Isra and Mi'raj, Asr time, Darul Zara should be having something going on, right? Darul Mustafa is having an Asr on Friday. We're supposed to go to Zambal. So now Darul Mustafa is having all these things. So I think we have to push our trip next week because I see what Darul Mustafa is doing, what Darul is doing. They're reading a few things. I saw my husband share a few different maulids, different.
Which trip was the day?
Huh?
Our trip was the day.
No. Our trip to Zambal. We're going to bring her to Zambal to Ziara Zambal. Right, but I will read through the Darul Mustafa message and tell you again that what Darul Mustafa is saying is happening. You know, from my husband's if I see my husband's message, right? So they say حضور مولد جامع صباح أربعاء. Okay, that's today, right? حضور مولد بعد صلاة المغرب مباشرة بمصلى أهل الكساء. I think that's tomorrow, right? That should be tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Correct. Then حضور حضرة بدرية الشهرية بمصلى أهل الكساء مساء يوم الخميس. Okay, that one I don't know, but I think it's the morning. Right. So there's حضرة بدرية at the night. Then قراءة قصة إسراء والمعراج عصر يوم الجمعة في مسجد شكرا بخليف. تمام. So they have at Asr they have قراءة of Isra and Mi'raj on Friday. Then حضور ختم Sahih Bukhari. Okay, that one is at Masjid Ba'alawi. That one you want to follow. I think should be on the radio because now they are putting stuff from Masjid Ba'alawi on the radio. So there's Khatam of Sahih Bukhari on the radio from Masjid Ba'alawi. Then after Isha there is again the reading of the story of Isra and Mi'raj from Masjid Ba'alawi. Right, so you tell your husbands about this if they want to go. And then Sabah Yawm Sabat Munasabah Isra wal Mi'raj. So Munasabah. And then Hafla Sanawi, right, for Isra and Mi'raj at Asr Yawm Sabat. Right, Asr of Saturday. At Bisaha Jami' Tarib. So probably Darul Zara has something going on. Probably.
Is it the 27th?
Wazafun, they have the parade, they will have the marching. They will march. Right. This so this Saturday is 27th, right?
Yes.
So there's a parade going on at Asr time. Then Hadra Akhir Ahad min Shahr Rajab. What is the Hadra Akhir Ahad? I never knew about that. Hadra Akhir Ahad min Shahr Rajab. What Hadra is it? MashaAllah.
This is
But
interesting.
Yeah, but this is in Hauta. Habib Ahmad bin Zain. It's also in Hauta. It's quite distant from here. And then Hadra Hudur Hawliya Habib Salim bin Hafiz. Or they have the Hawl. Habib Salim bin Hafiz, that is Habib Umar's grandfather. Habib Salim bin Hafiz, but it will be a Mishtah. So it's all for the men with any. Anyway, mashallah. Right, so basically this entire weekend is going to be I don't know how Habib Salim is coming up also. But basically you see how they emphasize the importance of knowing events. Right? I still don't know what's the significance of the last Wednesday of Rajab. Do you know?
What is the what?
Significance of the last Wednesday of Rajab. Because they always say, oh, akhir Rabu fi Rajab. Right? And they do a maulid on the morning of every important day. And today there was a maulid in the morning. What's the significance of the last Wednesday of Rajab? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Hawashi mentioned something.
Is it? I want to ask Amaram yesterday. What is the significance of the last Wednesday? Because you see they make it a special day. But I don't know what's the significance of the last Wednesday of Rajab. You know, mashallah. And my entire voice and I never noticed it. It's the first time I'm noticing it. That they actually do something on the last Wednesday of Rajab. Right, so, but I know on this Friday for Rajab, there's this call whereby when the Imam is on the mimbar, and then the one who says Ahmad Rasulullah, Muhammad Rasulullah, there's this fa'idah, and then they make dua, Ahmad Rasulullah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Inshallah you will receive the message about this. Every year Rajab they will spread this, and every year people will say it's a bid'ah. Right, so every year, like so when the Imam is on the mimbar, And this is Friday, is the last Friday of Rajab, which means Habib Omar will be the khatib. Habib Omar gives the khutbah every last Friday of the month at Masjid Rawdah. He gives khutbah every week, but different masajids. He moves around. So for Masjid Rawdah here, it's on the radio. Every last Friday of the month is Habib Omar. So if you want to just like hear his khutbah, mashallah, mashallah. So we're mentioning that because the importance of mentioning of mentioning the events as they come, as Habib Abu Bakr Al-Alani has informed us. So we'll continue from yesterday lesson with Hababa Maryam, in the sharing of Isra and Mi'raj, inshallah. And that's why we're doing this. We're stopping from our book of assistance, and we're going into Isra and Mi'raj because we are approaching Isra and Mi'raj. So I already sent the books for photocopy. So I don't have one with me right now. That's all at photocopy shop. So and I left my notebook at home also. So now I'm just going by memory. So you just remind me wherever I'm going by memory of what Habba said. So you see, we left off Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? And the story of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam is that later on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had for Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam to have a son. And that is Nabi Ismail alayhi salam. And Nabi Ismail alayhi salam. So, and Nabi Ibrahim loved Nabi Ismail alayhi salam. And that love entered the heart of Nabi Ibrahim. As how you would for any parent. You love your child. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. You know the famous story of the test on Nabi Ismail alayhi salam, whereby Allah commanded in a dream for Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam to slaughter Nabi Ismail. So on their way to slaughter Nabi Ismail, Nabi Ibrahim, Nabi Ismail and his wife Hajar, the mother of Nabi Ismail, on their way there, Shaitan appears to Nabi Ismail first. She appears to Nabi Ismail first. And he begins to talk to Nabi Ismail and say, what's this? Your father's going to bring you and going to slaughter you, and you should speak up, and go against it and so on. And Nabi Ismail said, you are Shaitan. And he took some stones and he threw at Iblis, right? And it caused, and that point where he threw the stones, that is the first, you would say, the first Jamra, Jamra to Sughra, the first stoning when you go for Mina, when you go for Hajj, there are 3 stonings. That is the smaller, they call it the smallest one, but they're all the same size. So don't expect to go there and find a smaller, they're all the same size, right? And now it's a wall. They put it into a wall now, and it's longer a pillar. It's a wall. But it's still called Jamra Sughra. It's the smallest one. So Nabi Ismail threw stones at Shaitan and chased him away. Then as they went further, Shaitan now approaches Hajar, the mother of Nabi Ismail, and saying, what are you doing? Are you allowing for your husband to do this to your only son? And he began whispering to Hajar, and then Hajar says that, you are Iblis, you are Shaitan. And she picked a stone and she flings it at Shaitan, Iblis. That will be the second Jamra al-Wusta, the second one. And then the third one, Shaitan goes and aims at the father, Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Shaitan tries to whisper to Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Nabi Ibrahim says, you are Shaitan, and he stones Shaitan and he flees. So then they arrive at a place, Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, and then Sayyidina Ismail said to his father, oh my father, blindfold me, please cover my eyes, because I fear that when you are about to slaughter me, to obey Allah's commandment, that your eyes look into my eyes, right, and your heart breaks, and you can't do it, so just so blindfold me, right. And then he said to his father, make the knife sharp, right, as sharp so it's easy, right, to get it over and done with. This shows ultimate obedience, right, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is usually the story that I will bring to people who keep saying that every law there has to be like I said, you have to be able to people who say you have to be able to figure out the wisdom of every law first, right? No, this goes against that, right? Because Nabi Ibrahim did not at all ask Allah, Ya Allah, what's the wisdom behind this? Right, you want me to kill my son? Like, what's the wisdom behind this? There was no question. It was Sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey. Full stop. There was no question whatsoever. Nabi Ibrahim, mashallah, he is really the pinnacle. After our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the pinnacle of obedience. Right, leave your wife and son in the desert and go. Right? Oh, mashallah. Don't think of the asbab. Don't think what asbab. Where is the asbab? Right? Where are the means to support my son? Don't think of that. Right? This was a direct, order to kill the son. Right? So don't even think of like is it going to be a way out, or something? No. Right? And so Nabi Ibrahim placed the knife on the neck of Nabi Ismail. Right? And he and he began to, and he hit. Basically, he used force to try and slaughter Nabi Ismail alayhi salam, but the knife would not cut. He tried again, and he says, "No, cut, oh knife, cut!" And the knife, and Allah allowed the knife to speak, and the knife said that Al Khalil tells me to cut, and Al Jalil tells me no cutting. Jalil is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al Khalil, Nabi Ibrahim Al Khalil, قال أقطعي يا سكين, cut, oh knife. And then he said, but Jalil, Allah Al-Jalil says, no, don't cut. I obey Al-Jalil. I obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have not given the permission to cut. I like how the fire was not given permission to burn Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. The knife was not given permission to cut Nabi Ismail alayhi salam. And we know that all of these things, which are asbab, they are their means, they only work with permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? If food is not given permission to nourish you, it will not nourish you. If water has no permission to quench you, it will not quench you. Right? And as Muslims, we must believe that strongly. These are all means, but they are not the doers of anything. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the doer. Right? So then and then the angels cry out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, have mercy, have mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the kibish, right? He's the ram. And it was said that this ram is from the ram of Habil. So when Habil gave a qurban, basically when Allah tested Habil and Qabil, and Habil was someone who had animals, right? Qabil was someone who had crops. Right? So Habil, the good one, the bad one is Qabil. Right? So Habil gave the best, of his ram, right? Of his animals. And that same animal was later on given Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam for slaughter in one of the narrations. Qabil gave the worst of his crops. He presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the worst of his crops. And of course it was not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not make Qabil angry with Habil. And that's the way of shaitan, always blaming somebody else. We spoke about it early on. Right? Qabil, subhanAllah. And then you have the madrasa of Qabil, the way of Qabil. Then you have the madrasa of Habil, the way of Habil. Right? And mashallah, if you have time, inshallah, Habib did this story in one of his Qasasul Haqq. It is an amazing series in Ramadan. Every Ramadan he does it. I'm trying to get all the recordings. I don't know where to get all the recordings. Right? But on YouTube they have up to the 5th season, but he has done up to 10 seasons. It's on a TV channel.
He also has it on his website.
On his website, but up to the 5th season.
So 5th season.
Yo, I checked. I follow the show. Decided to ask the Mustafa because as far as I know, a TV channel is the one that produces it. So maybe they hold the rights for it. I think so. I don't know. Maybe they hold the rights. I don't know. But on Happy's website, it's up to the 5th season. But basically, this Qasasul Haqq, I translate it on my podcast, and it's called True Stories from the Quran. True Stories. Right, so I go season by season. So every Ramadan for the past few Ramadans in Singapore, I've been following from the first season. Right, so we translate word by word from Habib Omar. Right, and then so I come to Surah An-Am, story of Habil and Qabil. Right, so I have translated that story as well. Right, and all of the ibrah, the lessons and so on, right, that Habib gave, right, from the story of Habil and Qabil. It was so amazing, subhanallah. I think what got me hooked to this series was because I accidentally came across it on the radio when I was here back then, 2018. 2017 I was here, 2016. Because it's in Ramadan, right?
Are you?
So
here
in Tarim,
okay.
They play on the radio. So I was like, and they play on the radio right after iftar. They actually played after iftar. Yeah, so there was one. I was in Ramadan, and then I left the radio on. Then you hear the theme song, and then Qasasul Haqq, and how it begins to speak. And No, I was like, what is this? And then I was listening and mashallah, he goes through specifically the stories in the Quran, and all the lessons out from the stories. And there was, the first story I heard was Habil and Qabil. Then I went to search, what is this? Does Habib have it somewhere hidden? And I found on his YouTube was up to the 5th season. Then on his website up to the 5th season as well. Right? Then, but I know on the channel, on the Yemeni channel, right, they have up to the 10th season. Okay, find out to get this. I don't have Yemeni channel with me, so I will, even from Singapore, I would access the channel through the internet and watch it from the internet. Right, so desperate to get.
So there are 30 every. 30
yeah, it's daily. It's every day he will give a reflection on the stories in the Quran. So he's reached the 10th season. Yeah, 10th season, right? But I only found up to 5 seasons. Find all the other seasons.
It's not only prophets then, it's also the stories.
Yeah.
Right?
And even he gives stories of the future. Oh, that's very good. That comes in, right? The 5th season, he gave stories of the future. Because he gave some ayat that speak about incidences in the future that have yet to come. And he spoke the stories of the. So he said, and I remember that episode very well, because he would say, we tell stories of the past, but also we must tell stories of the future, because the Quran tells stories of the future. And so he went into the, and it's to go into future stories, mashallah. Mashallah, Habib Umar, mashallah. It's a very beautiful story. But if you want to go into the depths of the story of Habil and Qabil, right, that tafsir, especially tafsir, mashallah, right, but focus on stories only, mashallah. Right? Huh? Yeah, mashallah. Right, so then with Nabi Ibrahim's story, right, so they continue, and then so eventually Nabi Ibrahim is commanded. So basically she's going to the first part of the book, right, whereby how all these prophets tie in with Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And so Nabi Ibrahim thereafter so Nabi Ismail was saved, and then we know he was commanded to build the Kaaba, right? And when he built the Kaaba, then he said وَبْعَثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا, right? So and sent a prophet, amongst them, who will recite to them the book, and the signs, ayat, right, and the book, and so on, and the Prophet would say, I am the dua of my father Ibrahim, right? I am the dua of my father Ibrahim, alayhi salam. Right, so there's Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right, so mashallah, and then she continued, and she came to the story of Isra and Mi'raj, and she mentioned first that Rasulullah was sleeping in the house of Hani. And there are different narrations. Some, like in the other book, Maraqi al-Aliyah, it mentions that he was sleeping at the Hijr Ismail. He was sleeping at Hijr Ismail between 2 men. And then 3 angels came to him and carried him. So another narration said that he was sleeping in the house of Hani. Allahu Alam. Allahu Alam. But one of the things that Habib mentioned about in his Sirah, if you can, this is his Sirah also. Right, it's all on his website. But Habib, every dawrah, he teaches Sirah, right? And he went, mashallah. But there was one point in the Sirah whereby he speaks about Isra and Mi'raj, and he speaks about, the Prophet ﷺ was the story begins by him sleeping not in his home. He was not in his home. There's no narration that says that he's from his home, either in the house of Hani, who is his cousin, right, or at the Hijr of Nabi Ismail by the Kaaba. Right, so, and Habib gave a commentary and said that this is his huzn, right? He's in this year of grief, remember? Right, and that going back home, right, without his wife there was grievous. Right, so you see the humanity of Rasulullah alaihi wasallam, that going home to an empty room, right? That is the most difficult, right, for someone who loved his spouse so much, to come home and see that she's not there anymore. Right, so he tend to sleep outside the home, right, because of the grief, right, of the remembrance of the wife that was there, mashallah. So remember that Isra and Mi'raj happened at his, you would say, the most grievous year in the life of Rasulullah. It happened after Ta'if as well, right? So like the lowest, right? And he himself said, when Aisha asked after one of the battles, with Uhud, if I'm not wrong, have you gotten from your people a worse day than this day? And he said, yes, I have gotten. It is not the worst day. There is a day that was worse than this. And what day was it, Ya Rasulullah? Ta'if. When I went to Ta'if, with Zayd bin Haritha, and they slandered him, right? They belittled him, right? And they chased him out and they threw stones at him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the entire story of Ta'if, right, should be memorized by every Muslim. We should memorize the entire mawqif, right? The entire part of Ta'if, because it's so powerful. Ta'if, so powerful. What happened, and then after that is his lowest point, right, what he did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his lowest point, right, still with mercy in his heart towards people, right? Do not crush the town, right? For I hope. Habib said, when the Prophet says hope, that means it will happen. Right? When there's the other Jew, when he says I hope, that means it will happen. And whenever he says I hope, it will happen. It means it will happen. Subhanallah. MashaAllah. And he made his dua Ta'if, which should be memorized by every Muslim. You should memorize the dua Ta'if, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And your Habib mentioned this point, which I found very beautiful, to show that he was actually grieving. That he was grieving. That's why he was found outside the house. He was not in his home because he was grieving. So and Isra and Mi'raj came as a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala onto his grieving prophet. Right? He's grieving from Sayyidah Khadija, passed away. He's grieving even more deeply, right, that the message seems to not be expanding. Of course, he knows Allah will bring it. He knows that. Allah knows that. But you see from the story of Ta'if, right, that he complained about the loneliness of himself. And he's the Prophet sallallahu. He complained about وَقِلَةَ حِلَّتِي عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. I am someone that people look down on. Right? And I complain to you that in a sense, with the tafsir of this dua that Habib Umar gave, that he was saying that it's because they see me as a nobody. That's why they're not listening. They see me as this is another man. I don't have followers. So he's complaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the loneliness of himself. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the Sayyid al-Mutawaddi'in, right? The highest of those who are humble. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you can see that he's at this point in his life. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Isra and Mi'raj came, right, to him as a gift, that none of Allah's creation got. None of Allah's creation, right? Qat, right? No angel, right? No prophet, no one, right? In the creation, got this virtue and this gift of the Isra and the Mi'raj, right? Only him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it came to him in his he himself called it Amul Huzn. It was from his words. It was called from the Prophet Amul Huzn, right? The year of grief. So, and for him to call it that, right, you can imagine, right, the entire year was grief, right, from the Prophet ﷺ because of Sayyidah Khadija passing away, his uncle passing away, and also it was like it seemed like you hit a bottom, right? You hit the bottommost part of his da'wah, as if Mecca was getting hostile, right? Mecca was getting dangerous, actually, in fact. Right, that they were going to kill him already at this point in time of the death of Abu Talib. Ta'if, right, which he thought, if they, would provide some form of support, like there will be a goodness in there, right, but they were even worse than the people of Mecca. Right, so it seemed like a dead end going on, right, with the da'wah, right, because he is a Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he never stopped his da'wah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, never. Right, and Habib Umar mentioned the seerah of Habib Umar, mashallah. Right, I'll tell you, mashallah. And it's also in my podcast, Life of Rasulullah. I trust Habib Umar. Where else we get all these things from? Right, Habib Umar. Right, it's just one person. You just go to and just try and get all this, information from. But he mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his sami'na wa ata'na, we hear and we obey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so strong, right, that with regards to da'wah, he never stopped. Even in his lowest of his low, he never stopped the da'wah. And when the verse of jihad came down to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he literally got up and he went out to fight by himself. However, mentions a mawqif about that. He went out with a Sahaba. No Sahaba with him. He got up and he walked out by himself out of Medina, right, to fight by himself. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, his obedience is immediate. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. MashaAllah. And all these stories that you don't really hear so much, that he did that. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Straight away, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the story of Isra and Mi'raj begins at Hani's house, or at the Hijr. Right? In Maraqi al-Aliyah, it says the Hijr. In the other book, it says Hani's house. Here's the opinion. And Jibril came to him with Mikael, and it was another angel. Right? There were 3 of them. In the other narration, this is 4. Right? So we see that there are different there's a khilaf in how many angels were there with him. They carried him to the Zamzam well, right? And then they split open his chest, took out his heart. Right? It was said in Maraqi al-Aliyah that they removed an adha. And there was something in his heart, they removed it. Right? Shira Rambuti will have his entire commentary on all of the points in the life of Rasulullah, whereby his heart was split, his chest was split and his heart was washed. There are 4 points in his life. It was said there are 4 recorded points in his life whereby his heart was split, or his chest was split and his heart was washed. When he was a child, when he was a teenager or a youth, when he was before the wahyu. It was before the first wahyu, and the last one was Isra and Mi'raj. So there are 4 recorded instances. In Jarambuti, he actually speaks about all 4 and what are they about and what was going on with it. So we must go back to Shira Nambuti's book, Fiqh Sirah. His book, mashallah. So it was said that they removed something from his heart, and then they came with, and they washed it with Zamzam, and they came with awani, and they came with some cups, right? And the first one was filled, right, with hikmah and iman. First one was hikmah and iman. So I'm going from Maraqi al-Aliyah. But I think the other one also mentions as well, right, what the cups had. Right, so now I'm translating Maraqi al-Aliyah, so it's all fresh in my head. I said I translated things in English. So
I didn't remember the other 2 cups.
The second one, because I just translated it.
I remember Hikmah and Iman.
Yes, Hikmah and Iman, the first one. Second one, the one was Zamzam, then Hikmah and Iman, and the last one was Islam, Ilm, and Hilm. That's just 3. If I'm not wrong, and this the 3 that they emptied into the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They poured it. Right, mashallah. Islam, Ilm, and Hilm. Hilm is like Hilm, gentleness, forbearance, gentleness is all. They emptied his heart. Then they sealed it up. There is a riwayat that some of the companions, they do say they can see the mark on it, on his chest, on his blessed chest. But the Shama'il will tell you that his chest hair, right, it is this fine line, right, and there's some hair on top, right? So, mashallah. The Shama'il of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just imagine they describe his body. So he has some chest hair, but from his belly button there's a fine line, and then there's some hair on top. And how men have it, but most men have a lot more. But he's like very nice, mashallah. Just describing it, mashallah. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then they call for the burak, right? And the burak was brought, and the burak is an animal, right? That is, however, said that smaller than a camel, right? But larger than a donkey, right? So it's an animal between the size of a camel and a donkey. And how burak moves? So burak has wings on his hind legs. Has wings on his hind legs, and how he moves is that wherever he sees, he can place his hoofs there, right? So his hoofs can be placed at the end of his eyesight. So as far as I could see, he could place his hoofs there, mashallah, at the horizon, mashallah. So and whenever he would go up a hill and incline, his back legs would extend. That is Maraqi al-Aliyah. Sometimes it's using 2 things together. Maraqi al-Aliyah says, as he comes up a hill, his back legs would extend, right? And then when he comes down the hill, his front legs would extend. That's how the burak is. So our Mara mentions that the burak was brought to Rasulullah, and at first this burak was being difficult. He refused to let anyone ride him. Right? Refused that anyone ride him. And then Jibril held Buraq and says, Buraq, aren't you ashamed? Right? For sure there is nobody in the entire creation who is more noble, right, than the one who's about to ride you right now. It is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was the Buraq got so ashamed that he began to sweat in the Buraq, right? And he lowered himself so much, mashallah. Mara mentioned that Buraq actually asked for Samira, Rasulullah, like, before you ride me, I want a domain, I want a guarantee that I'll be in paradise. And he was going to guarantee that Buraq will be in paradise, mashallah. So Rasulullah wrote the Buraq, and the Buraq is said to be an animal that all prophets ride. So it is an animal that prophets ride. If you read more and more into Sirah, right, there are stories about buraqs, right? They are animals in paradise. So they're like entire herds of buraqs, right, in paradise. Because the kids always ask, can I have my own buraq? So in paradise there are herds of buraqs. So you want to choose your own buraq, you can choose your own buraq. You want to go and find a buraq, in paradise. But this particular buraq was the one that was. There's a story about how he was chosen, right, for Isra and Mi'raj. To carry Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but I forgot what the story. But the story of how this Buraq was chosen for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So all Habib's Sirah. It's all Habib's Sirah. He will talk about all kinds of mashallah. And mashallah, all these stories you might have never heard before, but from my own experience, I will find the riwayat, later on. Like whenever I hear something from Habib Omar, right, and people will be like, are you sure? And I say, Habib says it. But later, you find the riwayat, you find the hadith. You should find later on. Right, so I never doubt whatever Habib says. I never ever doubt right, of its it's sahih. Right, he's very firm, Habib, very firm on what he shares. Right, so nothing airy fairy or whatsoever. Very firm on what's his father, mashallah. Right, so then the Buraq leaves Medina. And so he leaves Mecca, and the first stop is in Medina, whereby he stops and he's told to get off. It was land of Nakhla, a land of date palms. He was told to stop, and he was told this is where you will do your hijrah to, right? And then he continues his journey. So actually, what Hababa Maryam did yesterday was that she read the Muqaddimah, right? So I was wondering how come she went so fast. Because no stories in between, nothing, and it's unlike Hababa Maryam to not bring all the stories in between. But God, so it's coming later on. And so the story that she basically brought some from Makkah to Medina to Jerusalem, right, to Masjid Al-Aqsa, without any stories in between. But actually in between there's a lot of stories, right, from Medina to Masjid Al-Aqsa, right. There are many instances, right, whereby he stopped by Tursina, he stopped by Bethlehem, right. It's called Bethlehem, right. So Bethlehem, right. He stopped. He had smelled Mashita, the hair comber, right, of Fir'aun's daughter. He saw of the people he saw different visions, right. Or you would say they are realities, but he saw it, right. So the ulama differ where did he see all these things? By Maraqi Aliyah, it goes by the journey. It was during the Isra itself that this happened to him, where he saw of the imagery of hellfire and the imagery of paradise, the imagery because it was فأسرى, and then he saw this, and he saw this. Ya Jibril man hadha, Ya Jibril ma hadha, Ya Jibril. So in Maraqi Aliyah, they mentioned that in that way. Right, but this book that Hababa Maryam is going through, she has not reached all those parts actually. She went through a full summary of the whole thing without going through any of the stories of hellfire and paradise and the dunya appearing, and then the Christians and the Jews. There are many stories along the way. Right, but there are of the opinion that says that he saw it when he saw the hellfire. Right, but the hellfire is not as he goes through on the Mi'raj, because Mi'raj is paradise. So Mi'raj is actually, so these are all different opinions within the ulama, basically, right, of where did he see all of these things. Right, so in Maraqi Aliyah, it says it was during the Isra that he saw all of these things. Some say that it was when he went to Nabi Adam alayhi salam, and Nabi Adam looked into hellfire, and then he could see into the hellfire. Allahu A'lam. Right, whether it was on earth or in the heavens, basically he saw things. And of the first thing that he saw, right, in Maraqi Aliyah, the first one that they mentioned were people who Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. The first group he saw were people who planted seeds that immediately grew and had fruit. MashaAllah, from Jannah. Right, so and he asked Jibreel, who are these people? And Jibreel said, these are the mujahidun fi sabilillah. They are those who strive with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their very first step, they have their fruits. Khalas for them. And it's times 700 times. Right? And in fact, and whenever they spend of their money with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, straight away they get the result from Allah in paradise. Straight away, immediate. So the analogy is, in Isra and Mi'raj, that they put a seed in the ground and it grows straight away. And when they take a fruit, another fruit grows in its place. And he saw this. So this is like you said, the likeness, of someone who went and strove in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mujahidun fi sabilillah. MashaAllah. Right? And then Maraqil Aliyah goes into other issues, other stories, right, of the next one they go into are people, right, who smash their heads. And when it's fully smashed, it will grow again. Right? And so who are these, O Jibreel? These are the people amongst your ummah. And the word that was used in the narration is yatasaqalun ala salah. Right? So they're not those who don't pray. They are those yatasaqalun ru'usahum anis salah. Right? That was the narration. It means their heads, like they're smashing their heads because they're so heavy. Their heads are so heavy to get up and pray. Right? It's a laziness about them. It's a heaviness in the head. Right? That makes them lazy about the prayer. It's quite scary, mashallah. Because it's not specifically those who, I always thought was those who left the prayer. But the riwayat is those who are heavy. So it's possible they did pray, but they're just like, they hate it. They don't like it. They're dragging their feet. Like mashallah. Allahu alam, mashallah. And these are people that they crush their heads. And it grows, and they crush it, it grows. And then another group of people that he saw, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a group of people who
mentioned also yesterday.
The woman.
That they are yura'un.
Yura'un fi salah. Yura'un fi salah.
She's mentioned this, right? Also.
Yes. About those who crush their heads.
Yeah, so when they finally pray, they're praying only because people will see them. So they have to pray because they're in front of people.
In front of people, mashallah. So not sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one that she mentioned that was very scary was the woman. She saw like a group of women being dangled. So some of them dangle from their feet, some dangle from their hands, some dangle from their hair, some dangle from their breasts, right? Some dangle from their eyelids, right? And then what was the last one? There was 6, right? There was 6 feet, hands, hair, breasts, eyelids. The 6, right? There was 6. I remember there was 6.
Not private parts.
Private parts, is it?
I'm
You can't even imagine it, right? You can't even imagine it. I don't want to, mashallah. Right? Private parts, dangling. So I know she mentions there were 6 groups of women being dangled from different body parts. Right? And each of them is in response to what sin she committed and that she was dangled from these parts. Mashallah. And the Isra and Mi'raj story, mashallah, there's a lot of imagery.
Yeah.
Right,
It really makes you like...
wake up.
What?
I will always, mention to kids about the one that smashes their head, right, in regards to the prayer. Right, so lazy in regards to the prayer. Or this one whereby, a bull comes through a small hole and they try and put it back, but they can't put it back. And Mahada ya Jibreel, what is this, Jibreel? That is a word, an enormous word that someone said and then they regret, but they can't put it back. Right, it's all words that come out of your mouth, mashallah. And then of those people who had fingernails, right, of copper, right, and they were scratching their faces, right, and they were scratching their bodies. Who are these people? I forgot who they were. Right, this is in the stories of Isra and Mi'raj. I'll bring who I forgot who they were. They were scratching. They were scratching themselves, right? They were shredding their flesh. But I forgot who they were now. And then people who were they had 2 plates of food, right? This is a famous story.
Yeah.
And so one was pure and good and nice food, and the other was disgusting and rotten and raw and whatsoever. Right? And they left this one and they were gorging themselves on this one. Who are they, O Jibreel? They are people who have spouses halal for them in the home, right? But they go out for the haram, right? They search for zina, right? But they have halal spouses in the home, right? So they're like those who eating what is rotten, right? And leaving what is pure and good. You know, subhanallah. And he another one whereby of people who were putting their tongues in their lips and they were cutting it, right? Right? And then who are these people? Who are these? Jibril. And Jibril said they are the khutaba, right? Khutaba al-fitan wa khutaba la ya'amal bima yaqul. Right? So they are those who they are preachers, but preachers who they bring out, you know, the fitna, right, amongst people, and they are those who say what they don't do, right? So they are pulling their lips and they're cutting with iron scissors. So all the imagery of, so this is what this is happening in the Isra, because he's seeing the imagery of hellfire. He does go by a place and then he smells a beautiful scent, and what's that? Jibreel, and that is a scent of mashita. And mashita is basically means the hair comber. Mashita binti Fir'aun, that means the hair comber of the daughter of Fir'aun. And it was a story. She was combing the hair of the daughter of Fir'aun when the comb fell, and she picked it up saying, Bismillah, may Fir'aun be destroyed. She said that. In the Marakil Alay, she said, Bismillah, may Fir'aun be destroyed. And the daughter turns to her and says, do you have a Rabb besides my father? And she says, yes, right, my Rabb and your father's Rabb is Allah. Right? And then the daughter said, I will go and tell my father. And she said, go ahead, go. And she goes to Fir'aun, tells Fir'aun. Fir'aun calls Mashita, right? And then and says to her, right, do you have a Lord besides me? And she said, yes, my Lord and your Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he tried to force her to leave her religion of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, but she refused, and then eventually he called for boiling, it was melted metal. So he did. He melted metal into a container. And so it's melted metal. I always thought it was boiling oil, but it was melted when I was doing the translation. It was melted metal. And then called for her husband, 2 sons, and a Radia, right, a baby that she was nursing. And then she said, one by one, he will throw them into this melted metal. Right? So she saw her husband went first, then her 2 sons. Right? And then when it was her turn, there was a hesitation from herself. She was like, she hesitated. So the baby spoke. And the baby said, oh my mother, do not hesitate, but go ahead. But for you are on the truth. You are until Allah. And she jumps into it. But before she jumps in, she said, Fir'aun, oh Fir'aun, I have one request. And after we're all dead, take our remains and place us in one grave. She had one request. And Fir'aun said, Laki hada. Right? And for you that, you can have that. Right? So then after they passed away, all of them, he did his promise, he placed them in one grave. Right? And there's a story of Nimashita, Fir'aun. Her story is from Isra and Mi'raj. Rasulullah went past that. Rasulullah, mashallah, whenever he go past any place of significance, he would pray 2 rak'ats. Right? So when he reached Tursina, he prayed 2 rak'ats. When he reached Bethlehem, he prayed 2 rak'ats. And from there, the scholars say the dalil of barakah in places. Because even in Isra and Mi'raj, Rasulullah would pray 2 rak'ats at every place of blessing. And he did go past the grave of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, and he saw Nabi Musa praying in his grave. So again, as a Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he saw, mashallah, the people in their graves, mashallah. And so inshallah, we will start that from today, mashallah. It will be 8:45, mashallah. And so, how about it go through? She went through the entire thing, but she just went through a summary. Yeah, the cups. She went the cups. So the story of the cups, whereby when he reached Baitul Maqdis, Jibril came with 2 cups. But there are actually 2 narrations. One narration goes that he comes with 2 cups, and one cup was laban, it was milk, and the other cup was water. Right? Another narration goes he came with 3 cups, milk, water, and khamr, right? And alcohol. So Rasulullah SAW picked milk. He picked milk. And then Jibril said that you have picked milk, you have picked what is fitrah, right? What is natural. And then she said that he drank the milk and he left some behind. Right? And then he gave it to Jibril to drink it. And Jibril said, what you drank is a portion of your ummah who will enter into paradise. What you left behind will not enter into paradise. And he said, give it back to me, I want to finish it. He said, khalas. Right, done. Right, so not all of your ummah will enter into paradise. Portion. But it was 2/3. It was 2/3. There is 1/3 that he left behind and gave to Jibril. Then the indication that only 2/3 will enter into paradise of his ummah, mashallah. As of them who enter into paradise. Right, mashallah. Then he was the imam of the prophets. However, Maryam went through the stories very quickly. Actually, in fact, yesterday she does go through thoroughly. Right, she does. Right, but yesterday because I think she was following the muqaddimah of the book, so it wasn't really like mulakhasa. It wasn't like spots here and there. Then when she came to the real text, Brock just came. It was Nabi Adam alayhi salam. Yeah, up the Maraq, the Mi'raj. She only mentioned Nabi Ibrahim and she mentioned Baitul Ma'mur, right? She mentioned Baitul Ma'mur, Nabi Ibrahim. Yeah, and then she said that he took the 5 prayers, right? And then she kind of went on thereafter. But there's a lot of stories in between. Right, so I think she's gonna go into more of it on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday she'll go more into it, inshallah. But inshallah, if I get the translation out, because I am translating it for an online event that's being done in Singapore. Right, so they asked me to translate it. So I am working on translation right now. Right, so if I get it out, I'll pass it to you guys. If I can get it out in time, inshallah. Right, so the 23 fasal. Right, so Maraqil Aliyah, 23 fasal. Right, so I'm on fasal 10. Inshallah, I'll get to the end of it. Inshallah.
No. The one that Rasulullah led all the prophets to prayer. Is it all the 124,000?
It was said that every prophet was hadir. Every prophet, even Nabi Isa descended. Nabi Isa mawjood, right, on earth. Right, he came down for that.
We had the kids event and it was mentioned 124,000. I was like,
yeah, they were all there.
Actually, we shouldn't be limiting to a number,
Yeah.
you know. So we
It could be more than that.
It could be more than that, yes. So we shouldn't limit it to one.
Yeah, so it was basically every prophet. Think about it, if there's one salat and Rasulullah is going to be the imam, like, and you're a prophet, you're going to be there. You're like, I'll make sure I'm free. I don't think any prophet would miss it.
Yeah.
If I was a Nabi, I'd be like, no, I'm going to clear my schedule. I mean, you're dead, right? MashaAllah. And you're free, So this is the night. And you want to pray Jama'ah with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to do that, MashaAllah. They said even Nabi Isa descended from paradise for Jama'ah with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was in Jannah, came down for Jama'ah with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. MashaAllah. So Jama'ah with Islam is even higher. And MashaAllah, he came down for the Jama'ah. MashaAllah, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. MashaAllah. So inshallah, we will continue. Inshallah, we're gonna see what's going to happen on Friday night. I don't know what's going to happen because I really don't know. Like, are they having something going on or
if they will listen or not?
Yeah. So because it was what Darmus was doing on Friday night. So Ustaz Muniba is the one who tells us all this stuff. What's going on? So we wait for her to tell us anything. But I think that I know for sure that Zahra will have an Asar event for sure. I think Saturday.
Yeah,
they always have it, right?
Aisha is happening for girls.
Yeah.
For people who were memorizing Quran, but not. I don't.
Oh, is it?
I think they're gonna be also reading.
Yeah, because Maraqil Aliyah, what I'm translating is what they always read. Maraqil Aliyah.
So maybe they have like a khatm and then after.
And then they have that,
yeah.
Yeah, but from my memory of this is that it's full. The Zahra is a million full of people. You can't even find it.
Or like
my last event that I had was years ago. So I don't know if it has changed now.
But it's not like Habib and Muhammad's house, for example.
Would it be at Marasa Folk?
It could be.
It could be.
No, actually no.
No.
I think it's gonna be the Zahra. We can be sure from Sudan anyway, inshallah.
Because when I was there, like they actually made a tent outside the Zahra. It was so many people. There was a tent outside the Zahra. Right. And the road was blocked off last time. So, but I know nowadays they just put everything up at Marasa Folk.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be, but it's gonna be like a major event.
Maybe they're not. Okay, well, we'll see from Sudan.
We'll see what's gonna happen.
Because maybe they don't have something actually.
Yeah.
For Isra and Mi'raj. Maybe they're gonna follow afterwards. Mustafa Takhlif.
Masjid Rawda always has the recitation. Yes, Masjid Rawda.
After Aisha?
After Asr. Masjid Rawda is standard after Asr. They never go beyond Maghrib because it's all the Awam. So it's always Asr to Masjid Rawda, right? Asr to Maghrib. However, Salma will tell me. She will text me. However, Salma will come. So I can ask her now. So tonight, she's very much on her WhatsApp. However, Salma will come. So cute. Mashallah. But I will ask her what's going on at Masjid Rawda. Is anything going on? So you can just find all these majalis. Then inshallah, if you translate it, you can actually publish it and so on. Become books you could read. I think Isra and Mi'raj, Allahu Alam, but I think there's a lack in English literature for Isra and Mi'raj. So specifically Isra and Mi'raj itself, right? Without like being a full sirah book, just the event. That's why Propaganda News is putting us to just to isolate events and write about it. We should have like a book and so on, and a kids book and so on, and just the book itself, mashallah. And so whenever the event comes around, you read it, and you remind yourself of the events that happened in Isra and Mi'raj. Okay, inshallah, we'll start there for today. Who's doing Fatiha? She went out. She has a youth. Okay, so I think you're the oldest here, is it? Sorry, but for saying that, but this is you're the oldest here, right? Yeah.
I just take it.